It's Tuesday, the 14th of April, 2026. Welcome to the Fast 5 Business News by Fear and Greed, where we give you the top 5 business stories you need to know in just 5 minutes. I'm Michael Thompson, and good morning, Sean Aylmer.
Good morning, Michael.
Sean, 5 stories to race through in just 5 minutes. Let's get going. Story number 1, a potential blockade of the Strait of Hormuz would not affect fuel supplies that Australia has already secured until the end of May. But after that, Sean, there are no guarantees. According to Energy Minister Chris Bowen, the country still has 2 months worth of oil, petrol and diesel, Bowen said, but when it comes to June and July, the government will need to manage things pretty tightly. This all comes after Sunday night, President Donald Trump said the US would blockade the strait after Iran refused to give up its nuclear ambitions in failed peace talks over the weekend.
Anthony Albanese is clearly getting frustrated with what's going on in Washington. The PM, who this week will visit Brunei and Malaysia to reaffirm contracted supplies of fuel and fertiliser, said the decision to blockade the vital shipping route was, like the decision to attack Iran in the first place, made without consulting allies. He told Nine's Today Show, I quote, "They've made this announcement overnight and they've done that in a unilateral way. We haven't been asked to participate." He also talked about the fact that he wakes up in the morning, checks social media to see what Donald Trump's done, and that's how he finds out about it too.
Much like the rest of us. All right. So the US Navy has theoretically now taken control of the Strait of Hormuz. Donald Trump said that the blockade would restrict Iran's access to money, but there is still a bit of confusion over just how complete the blockade is, with the US Military Central Command saying that it only actually applies to vessels that are entering or departing Iranian ports.
Yes, I suppose the good news is that the ceasefire has held more or less outside Lebanon. Trump yesterday basically said it didn't care whether Iran returned to negotiations. He said they'd failed because Tehran hadn't given up on its nuclear ambitions. Now, Iran said it showed goodwill and failed peace talks, but then the goalposts were changed. He said that their foreign minister said the two sides were inches away from a deal. Meanwhile, the US president took aim at Pope Leo XIV yesterday. He, of course, is the first American pope. Trump said he wasn't a fan, saying the pontiff was weak on crime and terrible for foreign policy. Now, it came after the Pope denounced the delusion of omnipotence fueling the US-Israel war in Iran. He was speaking at Easter time. He said, enough of the idolatry of self and money, enough of the display of power, enough of war.
Story number 2. There's
Where do you go on that?
Yeah, there's not much that you can say there. Story number 2, David Jones is delaying payments to key suppliers and cutting head office staff as its private equity owners navigate a make-or-break turnaround of the loss-making department store chain.
According to the AFR, Pugh, the owner of luxury brands such as Rabanne and Jean-Paul Gaultier, is among the wholesale suppliers whose payments have been delayed by the retailer. Now, Rag Trader, which is an aptly named retail trade publication, said David Jones is paying suppliers an average of 16 days overdue compared to the industry average of 7 days. David Jones says it's been engaging with some partners on changes to processes. Now, Anchorage Capital Partners owns David Jones. It says it's committed to the business, but it just does tell how difficult it is running department stores are nowadays. So Saks in the US recently went into bankruptcy. Debenhams in the UK shut down all its stores, now an online activity. David Jones working hard to stay afloat.
Yeah, indeed. Story number 3, there are a couple of takeovers of smaller ASX companies on the go, but they're really interesting. Monash IVF's share price jumped 17% yesterday after it received a revised $351 million non-binding takeover proposal from a consortium led by Genesis Capital and Washington H. Soul Patts. The new 90-cent bid is up from the previously rejected 80-cent a share bid. That's a decent increase.
It is a decent increase. The other one, Insignia Financial, used to be known as IOOF, the Independent Order of Oddfellows. About 190 years old, this company.
Okay.
Well, it's going to be no more. It's being taken over by CC Capital. Well, it won't be on the ASX. It'll delist by the end of the week after that deal's gone through.
Story number 4, 8 in 10 Australians, Sean, have at least one long-term health condition, and about 50% actually have a chronic condition. The most common chronic conditions are mental and behavioural conditions, back problems and arthritis. This is according to the Australian Bureau of Stats. They put out their National Health Survey yesterday, which also collects information about a range of health risk factors in addition to the conditions themselves. A big risk factor is alcohol consumption. More than a quarter of adults actually exceed the Australian adult alcohol guideline.
About 10% smoke, 15% have used an e-cigarette or a vaping device. Now, the data is a few years old, but the numbers don't change around much. One shocking stat, about 2/3 of adults were overweight or obese. About 1/4 of people aged over 15 years met the physical activity guidelines, means 75% don't. About half of all workers sit down while doing their jobs. In terms of key ailments, arthritis, 3.7 million adults, asthma, 2.8 million, diabetes, 1.3.
Finally, story number 5. Forgive me if I get a little passionate about this one, Sean. Time-sucking, tedious tasks. The things like being stuck on hold on a phone or clicking through, when you've got to click through like 40,000 pages just to cancel a subscription, or you got to screen spam calls and things that might be irritating in the moment, but you wouldn't think that they're overly costly. However, a new report in the US said that the annoyance economy, which is a great name for this, adds up to $165 billion in lost time each year.
The report from Stanford University and research group Groundwork Collaborative says that everyday interactions should be simple, but are often quite fraught. According to the New York Times, some of the annoyances reflect clunky processes and outdated regulation, but others are intentionally designed to take advantage of people. The rise of AI chatbots has made that even worse. Can be very financially beneficial to a company, though.
Yeah.
So some of these subscription examples, that can boost revenue by up to 200%.
Just because it's too hard to cancel.
Too hard to cancel. Crazy.
Oh, there we go. The top 5 business stories in 5 minutes. Thank you, Sean.
Thank you, Michael.
It is Tuesday, the 14th of April, 2026. Remember to hit follow on the podcast. And if 5 minutes just isn't enough, you can find our longer daily show called Fear and Greed wherever you listen to podcasts. I'm Michael Thompson, and that was the Fast 5 Business News by Fear and Greed. Have a great day.